And so here we are, everyone. We are just a few days before the holidays. And yeah, it is the season for gift giving and gift buying. And today's captive audience movie that we're talking about is definitely about buying and selling. In this case, cars. Yes, we are looking at Cadillac Man, starring Tim Robbins and Robin Williams. And I have a wonderful crew today to talk about this very interesting film from 1990 with a rather interesting cast, a familiar face.
One, yeah.
And yeah, so thank you for venturing down the stairs, pulling up the chair, and can I get it? Hey, there we go. We can still get it. Your favorite drinks with us. Yes, this is from the defunct and then resurrected Orion Pictures, actually, if I remember correctly. Ryan released this, but yes, I have my crew with us here. First off, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joe Randazzo is here. How you doing, Joe?
Hey, everyone.
So glad to have you here. And my right-hand man who keeps coming back for more, it is none other than Mr. Ian Simmons. Hey, Ian, how are you doing?
Doing great. I'm really raring to talk about this movie. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Me too. So, Joe, if you wouldn't mind, would you give us the synopsis of Cadillac Man?
Well, the thing I learned about this movie is Robin Williams could make even a slime ball likable. He does have his slime ball qualities, but he does have his good qualities. Let me look up what was the name of the character real quick.
Joey O'Brien.
How do I forget that? They keep answering the phone. Oh, Brian. So Joey O'Brien.
Joey.
When we first meet him, he's coming upon a funeral where the hearse has broken down, and he decides this is a great opportunity for me to try to sell these people a new hearse, and I'm going to try to sell the widow a car. I'll give you guys a deal. Come in tomorrow because we're having our big sale tomorrow. We are privy to his inner monologue where he's like, well, everybody thinks us car salesmen are scum anyway, so who cares? And of course, the widow does go, you're trying to sell me a car? My husband isn't even in the ground yet. Tears up his business card and just throws it. You are the lowest scum on earth. So we learned that he's apparently sleeping with anyone and everyone that's willing. Married or not. there is a weird little thing. He has a girlfriend played by Lori Petty whose name is Lila, and he has a daughter named Lisa. He keeps mistakenly calling his girlfriend Lila Lisa, but he never seems to explain, I'm sorry, it's my daughter's name. He always keeps acting like, no, I swear I'm not dating a Lisa. Well, okay, but it'd be easy to just say, oh, my daughter's name, it's one letter off from yours, that's why, but he never does for whatever reason. So we have him going in for the big sale. Basically, everyone is told if you don't sell 10 cars tomorrow when we move to the new location, you're not coming with us. You do have your Jack Lemmon type that's like been there forever, and he's like, "Oh, you expect me to sell 10 cars? How am I supposed to do that?" You do have that guy. He hits on one of the women in the office, and she says something about him being disgusting, and he says, "I suppose dinner and a blowjob is out of the question." Which I'm like, there's one of those things you can never say in the office today.
You couldn't really back that either. But,
yeah, you couldn't back that either, but it's a lot worse today if you say it.
Yes.
So he, God, what is Annabella Shiora's name in this? She's sleeping with the boss.
Yes.
She's Donna. Yep.
Yeah,
Donna. Yes. Donna is sleeping with the boss. And we have a little her boyfriend played. Well, at first we don't know it's played by Tim Robbins. He shows him on a motorcycle. He doesn't take his helmet off. We don't know who it is. But what we know is he's pissed. He knows she's hooking up with somebody. doesn't know who, but we see that the boss ducks into a car while he's trying to make a sale, or he's the owner's son.
Yeah.
The owner's son
Yeah, he's
ducks
the
into a
owner's
car.
son. Yeah.
Yeah, ducks into a car while he's trying to make a sale. I skipped over the whole thing. He owes Robin Williams owes like 20 grand to the mob. He's trying to get people to come in to buy cars from him so that he can basically just keep up.
Right.
And he's one of those guys that's always got a story about why he needs money, and everybody seems to believe him, and everybody seems to keep giving him money, even though he's got a ton of money, or he's got a ton of debts. His son, the gangster's son, Robin Williams got him a job working at the car lot. And they keep saying, "Oh, we go way back. You and I go way back." But anyway, at one point, his girlfriend, played by Fran Drescher. So yeah, he's got a girlfriend, and he's also hooking up with Fran Drescher, who's not his girlfriend. She's married to a really rich guy.
Yes.
While he's talking to them, and while he's trying to pull a juggling act with like this older couple who's trying to buy a car, the mortician who came back the next day because he's like, "Hey, you promised me a deal on the car," and he's trying to talk to them. He's kind of getting pulled in all these different directions. All of a sudden, he sees a motorcycle just coming towards the window, bursts through, and it is Tim Robbins, machine gun in hand. Something is strapped to his motorcycle, which he claims is plastic explosives, and he wants to kill everybody because Donna is sleeping with somebody or possibly everybody in this place. I guess that's where we can kind of jump off and
yeah.
we'll kind of go from there.
And then this is why this is part of the captive audience month, because Tim Robbins' character, Larry, takes the place hostage, basically everybody in hostage, kind of while he's trying to figure out who has or hasn't been screwing Donna. And of course, because what he did drew attention, and now you get cops involved in the whole 9 yards, and you kind of get a little Dog Day Afternoon going on here.
Yeah, he checked out the machine gun right away, which immediately alerts the cops. So that's a problem.
Well, because he shoots the machine gun when he busts in, he starts just flailing about with the gun. And then when he sees Donna, he's like, "Don't come, you don't run away from me." And he accidentally pulls the trigger again, and he shoots her, and it grazes her head and knocks her down. And he almost thinks he killed Donna right away. And then, things are escalating. And that's when Joey, who at this point he's just looking at the situation, what he's in, where he's going. And he's like, fuck it. He's like, "I'm screwing Donna. I'm the only one. I'm screwing Donna." He basically falls on his sword, and the rest of the movie, is the relationship between Joey and Larry, as Joey shows that apparently there isn't much difference between a hostage negotiator and a car salesman in many ways, as he tries to get things worked out so that at least most of the people can get out alive. But you do get the impression while he doesn't want to die, he's also like, that's not exactly a bad option for me. I mean,
no. He's one of those guys who puts on the facade that he's doing great. But yeah, his daughter's missing too.
His daughter's missing, because his ex-wife calls him while the hostage situation is going. Again, more Dog Day Afternoon parallels. You get a call of his wife saying, "Yeah, by the way, your daughter is missing." And he's like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "I'm kind of tied up right now, with the hostage situation and all that." And it escalates from there, and we see this really interesting relationship between Larry and Joey, as Joey things come to light to everybody, as everybody all the ladies find out who Joey's actually been sleeping with. and
the secretary who told him he was scum earlier because he's falling on the sword for everybody basically makes himself the target of Larry's anger and rage. she's out there telling once she gets out, she's out there telling her he's the greatest human being I've ever met.
Well, she's not a secretary. She's one of his rival dealers.
That's what she's. Yeah,
and that's Judith Hogue from Ninja Turtles fame.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So yeah, this film is it's a wild, odd film, and it's why I wanted to cover it. And I just happened to put it after Dog Day Afternoon, and then I haven't watched this in ages. But after watching this, after we did, the film last week, I'm like, wow, there's strangely a number of parallels in this movie that I didn't, catch before. But initially, Joe, do you remember when you first saw this?
Yesterday. I'd never seen it.
Oh, that was your first time yesterday?
Yeah. It had somehow eluded me. This feels like a parody of Dog Day Afternoon in a lot of ways.
It does. In a number of ways, it feels like it. We even get sweat involved in here.
Well, I mean, you try not to sweat in a hostage situation.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Yeah, there's that too. Ian, what about you?
5:00 this morning. That was the first time I had ever seen
Cadillac.
Wow. Okay. Or as I like to call it, Dodge Day Afternoon. It's essentially that movie in a car dealership. I will say I don't think it's a parody of Dog Day Afternoon. I feel like, because this is 15 years after that movie came out, so it's still very much in the consciousness. I feel like sort of like the summer camp slasher movie, where you've got the conventions and you're following sort of a template. I mean, you're right. There's a lot of Dog Day in here. I think it's great that we're talking about them back to back, down to the police taking up a position in a restaurant right across the street from where the hostage situation is happening, down to the resolution of the movie where there's a shooting, and it doesn't resolve in that same way, but it's almost like I want to get the filmmaker's name right here, because that's not a name that I really recognize. Roger Donaldson. He's like taking that concept, putting it in the world of the used car salesman, but trying to give it some kind of a happy, zippy ending. And I think it works. There is a definite tonal shift, because this Dog Day Afternoon, it's a hostage movie from the jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cadillac Man doesn't become a hostage movie until almost 40 minutes in. Like, we are setting up Joey O'Brien's character in this weird comedy profile of this deranged guy who's kind of losing his mind with all these debts and these women and all these problems of his own making, and then he gets embroiled in a hostage situation. So when that happens, it takes a beat to wrap your head around, well, okay, Tim Robbins is kind of playing a funny office rocker guy, but he still has a machine gun and he's shooting indiscriminately into this crowd of like varying degrees of innocent people. And when Annabella Sciorra's Donna character got hit in that first encounter, I jumped. I was like, wow, we're really doing this, aren't we? But fortunately, it turns out it was just a graze. Yeah. But yeah, it walks a tightrope from that point up until the end of the film, between like how much of this is funny, how much of it is scary, and how much of it is kind of sad. And yeah, it's kind of one of those movies that's hard to classify. I forgot to go back and watch the trailer because it's been a crazy day, but I feel like this was one of those trailers back in the 90s. It was like, meet Joey O'Brien, he's having a rough day. Meet Larry, he's got problems, and that kind of a thing, and not getting into the weird dark meat of this movie. But I love Cadillac Man. I can't believe I waited 35 years to watch it. And I thank you for putting on the roster, Mark.
You're welcome. Well, I put it on the roster because, and folks, we're going to jump around a little bit, but I put it on the roster because I'm old. I was 15 when this came out. So when I first saw it, because it had Robin Williams in it and Tim Robbins, and it had a bunch of people, I'm like, oh, cool. I recognize these people. I watched it, and teenager, you're 15, didn't quite understand everything. I understood most of it, but I always felt the ending was like very odd, a little rushed, but just very weird for me. The way that the film ends, because it ends like on almost like a punchline. Robin was going, I love to sell, and I'm just like, how am I supposed to feel about this movie?
Yeah, he goes back into talking to us and breaking the fourth wall, which he starts with and he ends with.
Yeah.
Like almost like he's the one telling us this story.
Yeah.
He is kind of, but we don't like all of that disappears during the hostage crisis. I mean,
Right.
he's not. It's like the ending of this movie is the ending of Dog Day Afternoon as well as the very end of Die Hard, where there's like the reuniting with the wife and like, oh, maybe we can work out our difference. I thought that was a kind of a nice ending too, because she's not rushing back into his arms, but she's like, yeah, maybe you come over for dinner tomorrow night and we'll see how things go. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, watching it again now, being very much older, I completely get this movie now. I didn't quite when because we're looking at it, the only other real like heavy film Williams had done before this was Good Morning Vietnam. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, he was still kind of the stand-up comedy guy. That's how I grew up with him through the 80s, watching his stand-up, being younger than I should have been watching his stand-up, or some of the roles he took.
He had Dead Poets the year before this.
Well, okay, yeah, there was Dead Poets, and then there was Good Morning Vietnam. So he was leading up into his dramatic stuff, because after this he did Fisher King, and leading more in his. So this was the last few years where he was making that transition from, hey, comedy cocaine guy to, hey, I can do drama as well.
And by the end of the decade, he has an Oscar.
Yeah. And, but for me, putting it in context, when I first watched it, I didn't get it. I kind of enjoyed it, but I was like, but now I really enjoy it. And I'm with you, Ian. I enjoy this film quite a bit. There's a few things in here that date it, but not many, but a couple of things. But watching it now and understanding, and having watched many more movies since 1990, I get what they're doing here. And yeah, it's actually a really cool film that goes to a lot of places you don't expect, but they keep it fairly tight in this film.
And it's also interesting because you look at the other kind of leading man in this, Tim Robbins had a similar trajectory to Robin Williams, because 5 years earlier, he's the screwy kind of sidekick in Howard the Duck. And then he does this movie, which is comedic performance, but also very dangerous. And as I mentioned, kind of sad. And the same year, he's playing Jacob Singer in Jacob's Ladder.
That's right.
That was
also
that's right. That was,
and that's all drama, all pathos, all horror. So that's like a perfect evolutionary chart right there in a half a decade.
Yeah, he was doing boner comedies, like college, like college comedies, like 5 years prior. I remember seeing one with him and Barbara Crampton and Kathleen Kinmont. It's like one of the dumbest things you'll ever see. And then you go 5 years, and all of a sudden, he's on his way up. So
and he's 2 years away from going back to his comedic roots in one of the greatest political satires of all time, Bob Roberts, a movie which also gave us Jack Black when he was all of 16
That's
years
right.
old.
That's right. Well, what's also interesting about Cadillac, man, and this is one of the things that initially when it came out, when I watched it, confused me as a young one, but now I really appreciate. This got a whole cast of people you're used to seeing in a straight comedy.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Fran Drescher in here, Lori Petty, who's done both, but she's done a lot of comedy. I mean, Pamela Reed was in comedies. So you got a number of people here who had been in lighter fare and seeing them all in this film that takes things a little more seriously. I mean, we even got a young Paul Guilfoyle in here. It's just interesting to see them in roles that you might not be used to seeing them in during this time period. I mean, Fran Drescher definitely toning down the voice that we would get from, UHF, and that she was kind of known for, toning it down a little bit, not as leaning into that.
She can never be anything but a New Yorker at anything.
No, she can't. No, but that the little bit whiner voice that she did, that she was kind of her signature, like with the nanny, and that it wasn't quite here. But Lori Petty plays a very sympathetic Lila. She's a young woman with dreams of being her own fashion fashion line in that, and she ends up getting tied up with a sleazy car salesman, Joey.
But even then, he's not afraid to lay out, even though he is in debt to his ears. Hey, look, man, I'll give you $100. Let her in the club because she's wearing her own design. She wants to be seen in a place with a bunch of celebrities.
Club, yeah.
Like, hey, here's $100. Let us in. Of course, by that point, she'd been insulted by a photographer, and she didn't want to get in. So he just blew $100 on nothing because she's already halfway down the street by the time he does it. So he is a slime ball, but he's a sympathetic slime ball because it feels like he's a guy who's just broken, and he doesn't know. Like you were right. All these problems he has are because of his own actions. But you can't help but feel sorry for him to a degree because as slimy as he is, he's also kind of a nice guy. I think it's just he's one of those people that can't really make it click, can't really get it all together.
Well, I mean, that's the thing though, is he can, but the problem is he's the author of his own destruction. Yeah. He's a very successful car salesman, or he was, until he started losing all of the money he was making because of infidelity, which led to divorce and all this other like crazy stuff. He just can't get out of his own way, and you wonder like if he is. There was a part of me that was wondering if Turgeon, I think was the name of the family that owned the car dealership, they were going on to the big new lot, and they were only taking some of the sales force with them. I wondered if this, because you're right, in the case of the challenge, they had to sell 10 cars, but Joey had to sell 12.
Right.
And he had 2 days to do it, essentially. I was wondering if this was sort of a tactic to say, there's no way this guy's going to sell 12 cars. It's an easy way to get rid of him. We don't want to bring him along. Even though he had once been a great seller for us.
Yeah, they didn't want to necessarily fire him because it is still a family business. And you get the feeling, Joey's done. And we get that impression that he's a guy that'll do favors at his own expense, basically, to the point where it's self-destructive. And then he needs to get bailed out. And so he calls on those favors. And that's the way it is here. You do feel like there's that history Joey has with the Turgeon family. And they do kind of have a soft spot for him, but also they're like, yeah, this guy's kind of a liability. We don't necessarily want him. So you're right. Yeah, they set up the impossible challenge figuring, if he makes it, great. We got 12 cars and he can come with us. If not, no loss. It's really a win-win for them. It's only a win-loss for Joey. And, you're right. Joey's his own worst enemy in every situation he's in, it feels like.
Well, and he illustrates this himself, a little bit of that to the camera narration, but you're almost setting up this ticking clock plot device where it's like, okay, he's got essentially 48 hours or whatever to make these 12 sales. So you think, oh, this is what the movie's going to be about. But he spends most of that time not selling cars. I mean, he's going around to people and saying, hey, can you show up on the lot tomorrow and buy a car from me, or call your friends or whatever. That sort of works, but he's also like going to see his ex-wife and going to see, his girlfriend and going out to the clubs. Like all this stuff that he's doing is when he's not, he should be trying to sell those vehicles. So yeah, you kind of understand why he might not be the sterling salesperson that he once was.
Well, he's got himself divided. There's two sides of him and they're fighting each other and he wants them both. And
right. But that's the thing is I get the feeling he sort of feels like he shouldn't have to work as hard because he didn't used to have to work this hard. But
right.
Because he's made such a mess out of his life. It's like, yeah, he does want both things, but he doesn't quite understand that. Yes, if he spends the next 48 hours actively selling 12 cars, he will then set himself up to be able to spend the next 48 hours or 2 weeks or whatever chasing all the tail that he wants. But he's like, no, I want the tail now. I want to go to the club now. I want to pretend I'm Daryl Strawberry sliding into the hole, as he said, right into Lori Petty's rear end. Now, which I don't blame him. And by the way, Fran Drescher's introduction in this movie is the hottest I think I've seen any woman in any movie ever.
And for Fran Drescher, you know.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing is, in the course of a 24 hours, we see Joey try to sell the car and play up this car salesman stereotype and struggle with that even at first, but just says, screw it. Then he's with Fran Dresser's Joy. Then he has to go see the mafioso about his debt. Then he's with Lila in the evening, and then he's got to go sell cars in the morning. It's like, but that one day he's like with two different women dealing with the mafia and trying to sell a car.
And also, after being with two different women, he's still trying to hook up with his wife.
With his
ex-wife. He's still trying that. But I think what we're seeing is everybody does feel some sympathy for him, though. Like, despite everything we're saying, he comes off as so goddamn likable that everyone's like, no, look, man, I want to help you. I want to be able to help you. We all love you. It's like, how does somebody who has that many people on his side like constantly fuck up that much?
It's, you know, I can kind of see it because he is different things to each of those people.
Yeah.
Right.
With the Lori Petty character, he's much older than she is. And she's kind of like trying to break in. She probably thinks that at some point he can be almost like a sugar daddy type character, but she doesn't realize that he's broke. The Fran Drescher character, she really doesn't like her husband, even though he's fabulously wealthy. He's, you know, incredibly boring. And you've got this flashy car salesman guy who can offer lots of things, as we established in that opening scene with Fran Drescher. And then you've got the ex-wife who, you know, is, I think, kind of mad that he just like slept around and everything, but she still loves him and they have a kid together. So they have that connection. So it's not like he's a one-dimensional hound, and it's not like these women are all dupes. They're all looking for something in a man. It's just that this happens to be the most attractive option in their orbit for different reasons. And that, I think this movie is an hour and a half long, but you get so much out of these characters without it having to have these like crazy long drawn out monologues or anything. It moves very quickly.
Yeah.
And even when you're in the hostage situation, you're still learning about, you know, Joey, and then you're learning more about Larry, who starts off as a cartoon character, but then ends up becoming very sympathetic. And what their relationship brings out in both of them is incredible. I think this is a great companion piece to Dog Day Afternoon because they're both movies with similar templates, but very different objectives that they execute, I think, pretty perfectly.
Well, you get that one line from Joey by the end of it, because where you were saying, Joe, why he was saying he was not saying Lisa was, you know, his daughter, was because the ladies, we find out later, didn't realize he had a daughter.
That is true.
At least Lila didn't, because he kept calling her Lisa Lila. She's like, who's Lisa? He's like, I'm not screwing any Lisa. And he's like, you know, but he didn't tell her. We find out later on that none of the ladies knew he had a daughter, you know, because he kept that part away from them, because he has separated himself, because each one of these ladies is a different lifestyle that he kind of wants. I mean, Joy has the money, so she's a little bit on the richer side, you know, and he's got kind of, you know, he doesn't want to be in a relationship, but at the same time, you know, he doesn't have to worry with her about financially supporting her, though they do go to an antique dealer in a wonderful scene where he's a car salesman and she's just like, no, I don't want the $3,000 vase. I just want you. And he's like, how much for the vase? He's like, I'm buying something.
Well,
and then he's trying to make a deal for it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the weird thing about that relationship, though, is because, yeah, she's got the money, but not if and when she leaves her rich husband for him, because it's established that he's the money. And unless they've got like a ironclad prenup, she's not getting hardly anything, right, especially if there's infidelity proven.
Well, and that's I think part of the motivation of why he's so resistant of, it's not necessarily so much commitment, but I think it boils back to, and it's the way Robin Williams plays this character. I mean, I know it's the way it's written, but you know, he improv'd some of this, but it's just the way he plays his character. This is a guy who doesn't want Joy to give up her life with the rich husband, which she's very willing to do, which she says basically in the antique shop, because he'd feel guilty about it because he can't give her that lifestyle that she's used to. And you could tell that he does not want to get in that situation to where he's like, yeah, you want me, but I can't, it's not going to work. He's aware of what he is. And at the same time, he still gives into those sides of what he is. And it's crazy in this film with Robin Williams. You have this layered character who just has a lot going on.
And even early on when he visits his wife, he's in there, and we're privy again to his thoughts. We hear him talk about how he's broke, he needs money, he needs to get her to get people to come down to the lot and buy car. By the end of it, he's promising her another $500 a month.
Well, yeah, they have that wonderful argument that. That's the thing, is the talent in this too. It's just this little film, but the talent as well between Pamela Reed and Robin Williams. They're having an argument, and it felt like a married couple argument, because they're arguing about their daughter and whatnot, going back and forth, and then they start to chuckle, and they end it with a laugh by the end of it, and you could feel that there's that history there. And I'm just like watching this scene going, how is this in, this film? You haven't even gotten to the hostage part yet, but these characters are set up so well in such a lean amount of time. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I can see. I don't think this movie did very well when it came out, but it does. It's another one of these movies that we talk about sometimes. It's way ahead of its time. I feel like if this were to get some kind of a re-release, I mean, it's almost 36th anniversary of it, but some kind of a weird Robin Williams tribute push back into theaters, this could be seen as promoted as almost like a camp classic.
Yeah,
get people in and say, oh no, there's a lot of great material here. We just never realized it.
Well, I mean, I think in all honesty, it goes back to what we were talking about. I mean, you look at these actors that you have in here, you got Eddie Jones, you got all of these folks, a lot of them associated with comedies in a not so comedic film. I mean, there's humor, there's a lot of humor in it, but I wouldn't say that this is a straight comedy.
I mean, I feel like this is a pretty straight comedy. I mean, I think it was more humor than anything else. Mm-hmm. I mean, even the scenes with the in the Chinese restaurant with the police and the staff are all played up for laughs. Which is I love how they don't have any problem with the cops shoving food in their mouth while they're trying to negotiate. Last week we saw Charles Durning finally sit down to eat like an hour and a half into the movie. It's like, oh my God, I can finally eat something. This guy's going to take care of it going forward. But here it's just, he did mouthful of Chinese food, just talking to Larry, who's going by Chuck on the phone when he's talking to police, because he doesn't want them to know who he is. Like he's ever going to get away with this.
Yeah.
Well, and the owner of the Chinese restaurant, the little old man, he's a salesman too, because when the cops come in there and commandeer the place, he's like, the chief is like, yeah, we're going to set up here because we're monitoring something across the street. And the owner's like, are you going to eat?
Yeah. The lady too. And what's funny is the lady reminded me a bit of we had a wonderful Oriental food place downtown that was everybody's favorite. They unfortunately had to close, but her personality reminded me of that, of not caring who you are, but just pulling tune with your customers. Like, are you going to eat that or what? Because she was great, because if you called, no matter what you ordered and how big the order was, it was done in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't know how, but it would be done in 15 minutes. And heaven forbid you are not down there to get that food between 15 and 20 minutes, because she would call you up. I was picking up food one time, little side note. I was picking food up one time for this place, and she was on the phone, and she's like, are you going to come down and get your food? It's been here for like, I'm like, whoa. Oh, and
Well, with that kind of service, I imagine she's fighting for counter space of all the pickup orders.
But the woman in here, played by Lauren Tom, just reminded me a bit of her in the most adorable way. Made me miss her quite a bit, because I just loved it because their food was just delicious. But yeah, the restaurant was just great because then they're haggling over the bill. You got this hostage situation going on.
Which is why it's a straight comedy, because in real life the NYPD would just be like, okay, yeah, the office is going to cover it.
True.
You know, like in real life, that's how it would work out. Here, they're haggling over the Chinese food. You know?
and then they're going to call 911. And he's
no, that's right. We're going to call the police. Wait, you're going to call the police?
And I think the struggle there is it is a straight comedy, but it's also something else. It's not a dramedy.
No,
it's not like a crime thriller, but there is that rub and it's the turn that happens with the hostage situation. Where it's like, wait, where are we here? There's this element of underlying danger that was sort of in Dog Day Afternoon, as we talked about with the bank employees who would kind of ingratiate themselves with the hostage takers. But then all of a sudden, when something would go down, like, oh, wait, we're in a hostage situation. Everybody into the conference room. We've got our guns out. There's a bit of that here, and it is kind of hard to categorize. Dog Day Afternoon is a straight drama with some offbeat comedic elements related to the incompetence of these first-time bank robbers. This time, in this movie, you've got a first-time hostage taker in Tim Robbins, who's walking in with all of his mania and psychological problems into a straight comedy that's been going on for 40 minutes. So yeah, it's a straight comedy, but yeah, there needs to be an asterisk there, and I don't know exactly how you define this.
Even when he comes in, it's like immediately it's clearly played for slapstick because he's tripping all over himself. I mean, there are moments where, like, this is more of a comedy that has dramatic moments versus last week where we had a straight drama with comedic moments.
Yeah.
Right, but the thing is, like, as far as that, the hostage taking, the people in that hostage situation are reacting as if they're in Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah,
right.
It's played for slapstick only in the fact that Tim Robbins is Tim Robbins. He's the comedy guy. And Robin Williams is also the comedy guy. We've had a little bit of time to get used to him in this movie as being something else, like a little bit more, like there's more going on than just slapstick. But when those bullets go flying and Annabella Sciorra is struck down, there's nothing funny about that. It's not like slide whistles and, someone cracking jokes like, well, I guess that happened. It's just, it really is a dramatic moment. And it takes a little bit for the movie to recover and get back into that comedic beat, because it does take a very serious turn. And it takes a number of serious turns throughout the end of it. But we have a little bit more. They turn on the joke spigot a bit more as we're going on, like with the haggling with the Chinese food and all this other stuff. But the bit where the hostage, all the hostages are eventually released, and Joey is taking Larry, or Larry's taking Joey out of the car dealership. There's snipers, there's everyone with guns, everything trained on them. And there's that moment where Joey gets a little bit far out ahead of Larry, and he turns back and he's like, Larry, keep up with me. And then bang, he's down. Now, he's not dead, but it's a miracle that he's not, because he looked kind of messed up. He took a couple of shots, it looked like.
Yeah, it looks like he took a shot to the chest, which I'm like, usually you don't recover.
At least to like the shoulder area. The movie shoulder shot is what he got, is what I call. That shot where you
MSS,
it's like in this area here where it's okay. It misses your lung by a bit. It just gets through the meat net, but it still drops you.
Yeah, it doesn't quite get the lungs, doesn't quite get the heart.
It just stops. It doesn't bounce around inside of you like bullets tend to do.
Yeah. Well, no, I think part of the reason, and I think that's why this film may not have done as well as it did, because as much as, like you were saying, Joe, it is pretty much a comedy, it's not necessarily like some of the other comedies of the time. And there are these serious moments. And so the tonal shifts in this film are definitely interesting, because you get the one moment in there where they're talking, Joey's talking on the phone or whatnot, and they're asking him what he wants. And then he realizes that, Larry's realizing that he may not get what he wants or whatnot, that he's in a situation, and he's making like he's going to shoot himself in the head. and Robbins plays this so wonderfully because you're like just sitting there, and Joey saves him. He's like, I mean, at one hand you could have just your hostage taker shoot his own head off and boom, okay, situation done. But Joey even saves him. And that's what's fascinating about that character is just the fact he's got a heart. It's like he wants to be the stereotypical sleazy salesman because it's kind of a wild life, and not necessarily care, but he can't because his heart just keeps coming out and saying, no, you're this guy.
And
dude.
I think that's why all these other characters in the periphery, even down to the gangster who he owes 20 grand to, and he's like, you're good. Don't worry about it, man. I'm not going to kill you.
Well, he did save his kid.
Break your knees. I'm not going to bust your kneecaps. I'm not going to break I'm not going to take your thumbs. I guess that's why everybody's just like, it's just Joey. It's just who he is. It's good old likable Joey.
Joey's never getting a dime from that mobster, by the way. Again,
no, but he doesn't own,
at least for now. Yeah.
Well, by the end, I got a feeling he could ask whatever he wants because he does end up saving his son.
Well, I don't know. He can ask, but I don't think he's getting anything else out of that guy because he realizes if he gives Joey O'Brien an open line of credit, he's going to have to kneecap him at some point. But did you guys? I'm jumping way far ahead, but did you stick around for the end credits?
No, I didn't.
There's one funny line because they go through the cast and they get through all the principals and then all like the extras and everything. And then in the middle of it, there's just a weird line. It says, and and Elaine Stritch as the widow.
Oh, yeah.
Like, literally, that's what it says. Oh, and Elaine Stritch as the widow.
Well, it's interesting looking up a bits on this. Apparently was marketed as talked about as a black comedy, but many people took this as a straight drama. And so it didn't do well in theaters and it went to video pretty damn quick, actually. But apparently the film did cause some confusion there. But check this out. Here's some interesting casting for you folks. Al Pacino was originally the choice for Joey.
I could see that. I can totally see that.
When he passed, Michael Keaton and Danny DeVito were considered before Robin Williams was given the role.
I could see any of those, actually.
I could. Out of those, though, I think the one that would probably be most believable besides Robin Williams would be Michael Keaton out of those three, because Pacino and DeVito are just such characters themselves, no matter what their characters, that sincerity is usually hard to buy from them in almost any role they're in. If it's unless it's a really straight drama, it's really kind of hard to, whereas Keaton, I could almost see playing a guy similar to the way Robin Williams played it, to where he's got both the kind of sleazy, that layers of, nice guy underneath this sleazy car dealer.
Yeah, DeVito would have been like Frank from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I feel like. Yeah, that's his version of sleazy.
And then I think Pacino would be too much like, oh, this is like Dog Day Afternoon.
But this is before his Scent of a Woman rebranding, where everything became, I'm Al Pacino.
Well, yeah, I think
I can't do that.
The problem is Pacino probably would have brought a little bit too much of, and Glenn Ross was, I think, a couple years after this, but I feel like his version of Joey O'Brien would have been too much like his character in Glengarry, which was, he's a salesman, but he's also very slick. And the sleaze doesn't really come out. He wears nice kind of sharp suits. He's very confident in himself. I don't think he could play this broken a character as Joey O'Brien.
No, because Glenn Ross would have been after this. There was Frankie and Johnny. Same year was Godfather 3 and Dick Tracy. So Pacino was in those briefly. Dick Tracy, I mean, but not briefly, but he was in Dick Tracy. But before that he did Sea of Love and Scarface, so it's like
Sea of Love and Scarface are really far apart because we're talking 83 and 89.
Right. He didn't do a huge amount, surprisingly. I was like surprised that he didn't.
Yeah, he had kind of a lull in the 80s and he started kind of resurging in the late 80s. And then One Scent of a Woman came out. That was Pacino's back on top,
Oh, yeah.
Hoo-wah!
Hoo-wah!
Well, he was there was Scent of a Woman, which led right into Carlito's Way. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a resurgence in the early 90s. He had a real resurgence.
Absolutely.
A couple years after that.
Yep, and then City Hall, Donnie Brasco, and Devil's Advocate.
Yeah.
and then
you get them together in Insomnia. You get Robin Williams and Al Pacino together in Insomnia.
Yeah, then be about 10 years later they did that. But yeah, as much as those other actors are very talented, I think of those other three options, Keaton would probably be the closest, but not quite. I mean, Robin Williams showing here really, how he can drift between the comedy and drama aspects and give you a character that, no matter what, as we mentioned earlier, he does, you feel that sympathy for him.
Yeah.
it's all the way he portrays the guy, and I think the other people might have been a little bit harder as far as their salesperson goes, but with him, the way he just brings just the right balance that you want for Joey, that you're like, I totally see why people are like that around him.
For some reason I picture Michael Keaton's version of this character chewing gum a lot.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Well, Keaton, I could see Keaton's character, as far as his Joey side and not necessarily the salesman side versus the other part. We saw him later, in the McDonald's story, and I loved him in that, but I could see him, he maybe play the sales guy a little bit like that, but still have some more sympathy. But of those three, I think Keaton could probably be closest to Williams, but Williams just brings this, whatever, you want to call it, just that natural, like, feeling of, you're like, as much as you're a car salesman, I would still sit down and have a beer with this guy. And if he needed a place to stay, he could stay at my place.
As long as your wife's out of town.
As long as my wife's out of town, because
you can't trust that guy around anyone.
You just might end up with like residual women because it's like they seem to flock to him. You'd be like, oh, you don't need that one.
He's flicking them off like gnats and like
Like, can you take this one off my hands? I've got too many of them as it is. Actually, no. He just tried to pull all three of them at once.
No, he tried to pull three of them. The thing, I think the other interesting thing with that is that he feels something for all three of them, which I think is what makes it interesting with those relationships. You don't get the feeling like, as much as he kind of plays out, his tender side comes through on each of them in different ways.
Including with one of them just being like, look, I can't take care of you the way your husband does. I take care, he takes care of her in other ways that her husband can't.
Right.
But I'm not going to be able to give you all the stuff he gives you.
Sidebar, do you think that they ever made an adult version of that sitcom that Robin Williams was in called Pork and Mindy?
Oh my God. Probably. There's probably some director.
It's gotta be out there.
Yeah, I would.
So easy.
Yeah.
Nanu. Am I right?
Yeah. Nanud. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a odd but fascinating film, and I'm glad we that's one of the reasons I wanted to pick it again, though, is because I wanted to see how I felt about it, and I fully more understand what's going on and appreciate this film a lot more than when it first came out. And maybe that's why it didn't do so well, is because there were a lot of critics and audience members who were like me going, okay, because the way it ends like, first off, there's the wonderful, Tim Robbins also just showing his talent. When you get that moment, like you were saying, Ian, where he's saying, Larry, stay with me. You feel legitimately tense. Like, Larry, stay with him. Stay with, you're
you can see.
Killed.
Right. And you can see Robin's confusion when he's coming out of the bank and he's realizing, oh my God, there's snipers everywhere. Like, I think that's why they got separated, is because he kind of slows down and like stops and
Starts
O'Brien is
freaking out.
still
Yeah.
walking. Yeah.
In both cases of Dog Day Afternoon and this, we have we have the criminal who doesn't seem to understand the gravity of the situation. Tim Robbins just plays it a lot more idiotic than Al Pacino does, or even John Cazale does. Because John Cazale's the dumb one in Dog Day Afternoon, but he's nowhere near as dumb as Tim Robbins is here. But Mark, you said it did well with critics. I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score, and it is. Oh, hang on, let me unlock my phone again. 62% positive from critics, 32% positive from audience.
62 is still not that great. I mean, it's probably still in the aggregate considered fresh, but
yeah.
It's
a failing grade in school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great way to put it.
But it's still, more critics liked it than disliked it. The audience score is shockingly low. I'm surprised. 32%.
I'm not, because of all the things we kind of discussed here. It is a comedy, but if people are going to see a Robin Williams comedy and they get this, it's like, what is this? What's this weird thing going? If it had just been the wacky car salesman balancing 3 love stories, for 90 minutes, that would have probably been more up their alley. But you throw in this, like, the danger and the gunplay and the hostage stuff and this kind of like weird drama, and it becomes a different movie, and it kills the word of mouth. But I can it does make sense that more critics would like it than audiences, because I think they might be more in tune. Like, Robin Williams is really doing something different here.
Yeah.
It's not just a satire of Dog Day Afternoon. There's something else going on here that, again, I wouldn't be surprised to read some of those reviews and see the phrase ahead of its time, or audiences are not quite ready for this yet. I'm surprised that, well, maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but there's a DVD of this you can get, but then the Blu-ray is like $52. I don't know if it's out of print or something.
It's out of print, I think it is, yeah.
Because I was looking at
something. DVD. I was looking them up on Amazon. The DVD's like $7. I was like, I'm not gonna spend $50 on this. I might spend $7.
I got the VHS.
Is it just the movie though? Because I'd like to see some, like, a commentary or behind the scenes, or like really dig into what was going on with this movie.
It's an MGM release, so it's probably just the movie.
Probably the movie, yeah.
They were like, when DVDs were coming out around this time, they were just slapping whatever movie on there and then slapping the trailer on as a special feature, and that's it. Double-sided, widescreen on one side, full screen on the other, and that's a special feature, by the way. That's probably what we're going to get.
Widescreen was
special feature, widescreen version.
And don't forget the dramatic DVD ad that would be on DVDs about how there's the animated menus and
chapter dimension.
Chapter selection.
Hey, I wish
I've seen that on DVDs too. Special features, chapter selector. Like, well, it's not a feature.
Hey, I still long for the days of animated menus, like creativity, instead of the slop they have out there now.
But I mean,
the Abyss has still the limited edition DVD I have of The Abyss, the super bit version or whatever it was, the deluxe version that came with 2 discs. That has the best menu ever, because there's Easter eggs on that menu. It's animated menu. If you hit it just right, you could get like a trailer for T2 on it, but you got to like navigate to a little icon that would highlight.
That's another thing I miss that Blu-rays don't have, is a little Easter egg. You hit the side scroll enough times, something lights up over there. Oh, wait a minute, what is that?
Oh yeah. T2 was good. Office Space was good. The most ingenious and the worst at the same time was Memento, because they got crazy cute with that, and so you had to like solve puzzles in order to access anything on the DVD.
I didn't know that.
I just want to watch the damn movie, man.
I never had a DVD of Memento. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
My favorite was House of a Thousand Corpses, though, because right at the beginning you get Sid Haig. He's like, "Well, are you gonna pick something?"
Yeah.
Oh, fine. I guess I'll just stand here eating chicken. And he's literally just sitting there staring you down, eating a piece of chicken, just glaring at you like, pick something here, God damn it.
And the intro that was he's like, shit the bed. And he's like, oh, so good.
Yeah, it's the DVD menu art is a lost art because I remember
there's a lot about DVD that I miss, because one thing that I really miss, especially like the older like Warner Brothers movies, is it'll be like say you bought, the Roaring Twenties or, Public Enemy or something. It's like, okay, here's the movie. Here's a documentary by Kent Jones and Martin Scorsese that's interviewing Michael Madsen and Talia Shire and this person, and they're going to tell you why this movie's important. There's the audio commentary where Martin Scorsese's talking to this other film historian about why this movie's important. By the way, here's a short that might have played with it. Here's a Looney Tunes short that might have played with it. Here's a newsreel from the time it came out. $14.99. Now we get, you got the movie. Fuck you. What else do you want? $32.99. that's it now.
It depends on
get the movie.
It depends on the release, but most of them, they have a template. They follow the template, and that's what you get. Some of the releases, a lot of the boutique ones still do the fancy menu stuff.
Like
the menu nice here on Visual Vengeance for Dinosaur Valley Girls. The menu there, when I was doing my review of that disc release, I had to put little black boxes over certain sections of the animated menu because they were showing scenes of the movie superimposed on there, and YouTube wouldn't have liked that.
That's Donald Glut, right?
Yeah.
He's one of those guys. I love Donald Glut because he's one of those guys like Stuart Gordon and Dennis Paoli, where they excuse me, they did work for Disney in the 80s. I think Glut was an animator. So, and Paoli and Gordon wrote Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And as soon as they were done with that, as soon as they had their Disney paycheck for life, they went back to doing the sleazy shit that they want to do. And that's what I appreciate about Donald Glut. He'll be like an animator on Beauty and the Beast. Then his next 5 movies are like Countess Dracula's Orgy of Blood, The Mummy's Kiss. And it's like, dude, I love it. Bless your B-movie heart. You're like, I made my money. I got a check for life. I got checks coming in until the day I die. I'm just going to make my silly, stupid monster movies that I wanted to make since I was 10.
Yeah.
I love that about them.
Talk about needing separate resumes for a job interview,
right?
Yeah.
And Stuart Gordon did the same thing. He's doing Castle Freak and whatever, Necronomicon and all that stuff. Bless him for it, man. Do it. Get your money and then do whatever you want.
One last thing for me about DVDs: the release for Rules of Attraction from 2002. The James Van Der Beek movie was based on Bret Easton Ellis' novel. I loved that because it had 6 audio commentaries on it.
Jeez.
Involving people who weren't even involved in the movie, like Carrot Top has an audio commentary on that. He had no connection to that film at all.
Well, that's why I like the boutique stuff. Just one final thing is look at all the extras on this boutique. There's stuff on here that barely has anything to do with it, but it's all on here because and so we don't quite get that now, but I would love to see a commentary for Cadillac, man, because I'd be interested to see
if it's on the DVD.
I'd be interested to see what their approach was and how they handled that, because this film, this is one of those where, like I said, I appreciate it a lot more now. I think some other folks who may have discovered it probably do too, because this is a film that's very interesting. That's showing how you can do a balance of some dramatic elements with comedy moments to where it's like, and give you interesting characters along the way. All of these folks are characters in here, even the side characters, the one guy who's been there forever, and the one guy who is actually having sex with Donna.
Well, I think he's the boss's son. I think he's the owner's son. And he turns out to be a weasel because of, but in the end, he, Joey, you saved my life. You have a job for life. And then again, Joey is like, okay, but I don't want just a job for life for me. I want you to take care of all these guys.
Yeah.
He's he keeps redeeming himself, which is a great thing. By the way, I'm looking at the back of the box for the DVD. Special features, original theatrical trailer.
Whoa.
That's it. You're not getting a commentary.
You don't even get commentary.
Nope, you get nothing.
You're right. But you're right, Joe.
In Spanish.
But you're right. Joey at the end even is like, no, don't just give a job for me. Give it to the other guys. They're like, okay, whatever, And if you look at the way this thing plays out too, Lila ends up getting the exposure she wants to, right? his daughter finally comes down to the dealership, probably because she saw,
because she saw it on TV. Yeah.
Because she saw it on TV. So she comes down to the dealership. And I love that she's with her boyfriend. And he's like, "Yeah, you want to go?" He's like, "Oh, I'm not coming down." He said, "I'm not going there." And yeah, you get some connection with the ex-wife. You get, Joy, Fran Drescher's character. She ends up going back with her husband, and they end up talking about going to Florida. It's really interesting how all of this stuff happens, and then in like the last 5 minutes, everything gets like wrapped up. It's pretty fun.
And even in the end, Joey's master plan is, hey, let these people go. All right, part 2. Let these people go. Part 3, let her go. I'm going to be your only hostage. So he is kind of selfless in a way, which we also talked about, because he does do things for other people at his own expense.
Well, it is the reaction or resolution from Dog Day Afternoon we talked about last week, how once the cops step in and they, shoot John Cazale and they take Pacino into custody, all the hostages turn their backs on Pacino. They're like, yeah, we're not friends. In this one, you've got Joey going up to Larry, who's being put on the stretcher, going into the ambulance, like saying, "Yeah, I'll be with you, man. We're friends to the end," kind of a thing. He does slip in, like, "I never slept with Donna."
Yeah, he does at the very end.
Yeah.
Right, but you get the feeling that he's trying to rub it in, or that he's being vindictive. He just wanted to kind of level with his, friend, or at least say, I guess he deserves to know that. So it's touching. And again, it's taking the Dog Day template, but not just remaking it, but putting a spin on it, so it makes it kind of worthwhile in the end.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm glad we watched these back to back, because it was interesting seeing the comparison between them, similarities and differences. And yeah, Joe, your final thoughts with Cadillac Man.
I'm glad I watched this one. I had a lot of fun with it. I wasn't sure what to make of it. I thought it was going to be Robin Williams is having a bad day, and he's the one that takes everybody hostage. But it ends up not being that. So I didn't watch the trailer either. I think I will watch the trailer after this, just to see how it was marketed, especially hearing that it did so poorly, and apparently pissed off audiences. Because
confused them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and that's probably it. It's it kind of reminds me when that woman like 10, 15 years ago, whenever Drive came out, sued the makers of Drive because she went in expecting like a Fast and Furious type movie, and that's not what she got. That's kind of what reminded me of. Like, hey man, or a couple. When we did what's it called? When we did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I told you guys I had a friend who, picked up the DVD, looked on the back, saw Christopher Lloyd, Danny DeVito, and Jack Nicholson on the back of the cover, and this is a comedy. And then he's like, I've hated that movie ever since. Like, it's not the movie's fault. It's not what you thought it was.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess it does happen, and I guess you have to be like open-minded like we are to go into a movie, just be like, okay, I'm going to go wherever this movie takes me, and we'll decide from there if it achieves its goal. But yeah, I don't know, man. If you haven't seen it, like with Mark, if you haven't seen it since you were really, really young, maybe give it a revisit and go into it realizing it's not going to be just Robin Williams doing slapstick for 90 minutes, and you might like it a lot more.
Yeah. Ian, what about you, sir?
It just occurred to me what you were saying, Joe, where this movie would find a home today if it were to come out. This is A24. This is just like Friendship, which came out earlier with Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson, an ostensible kind of buddy comedy. There's a lot of comedy in that movie, but it's also supremely weird and kind of off, and gets into some like weird dramatic and dark places. I can't say that I love this movie because I've only watched it once and I don't want to suffer from recency bias, but I was very surprised by it. I knew that it hadn't done well. I had an impression from seeing the trailer, back when I was 13 or whatever, like, oh, this looks kind of silly, but it's not. This is very smart, very ahead of its time, very sophisticated in a lot of unexpected ways. And I can't think of Fran Drescher in the same way.
Especially,
that is a great way to introduce Fran Drescher. Who
it is. And,
also, you said earlier, it moves.
Yeah,
and that's a really important thing, man. Pacing wise, this movie is great at pacing itself.
I forgot to mention something, and I wanted to bring it up here.
Go for it.
The opening shot, the fly through New York, and then we end up with the distant shot of the funeral procession, which is stopped because the hearse is stalled. The timing on that, because I think that's all one continuous shot, but the incorporation of that and the credits, like everything just like flowed perfectly. You'd think this was done using seamless computer editing or something, but it's this one great flowing shot that ends with, oh, we're kind of establishing the city this takes place in. Wait, why are we zeroing in on this neighborhood? Wait a second, there's a car, it's smoking, it's a funeral procession. What? And then we get into business, and we're off to the races.
And I think that cemetery, I think it's in Astoria, Queens. I think it's the biggest cemetery in the world. I used to work near there like 20 years ago. One of my friends got me a job at a shop nearby, and I remember like being like, "Holy hell, this thing is huge!" Like it would just go on for like blocks and blocks and blocks. I think it is actually the largest cemetery in the world.
And a piece of trivia: this is also where they buried Cadillac Man at the box office.
Oh, and
burial.
My crew members mentioned it, set it up very well. My final thought is I think this is a smart, lean film that gives you everything that you need in this film, that you need from all these characters in this story and to plot everything to follow it. And yeah, it clips along though. This film, for the amount of miles it covers as far as story and characters and everything, it really moves. And hey, Polar Knights is pulling in real quick here just as we're wrapping up, says, as a barber, I love this show. It is every stage of beard growth. Yes, we are every stage of beard growth here. And happy you pulled in here, Polar Knights. Love the comment. And yeah, go see seek out Cadillac Man where you can. It's a film that there's not a huge amount of things that date it, maybe a few things, but not a lot of references or anything either. It could still hold up today. Watching it, you don't need to know late 80s, early 90s, like, pop culture references or anything. But I think if you like these people and for the reasons we mentioned today, and you're looking for something a little different, this is it right here. And this is Robin Williams showing. And not only Robin Williams, but these other actors as well, showing that they can do comedy, but they can bring it to the edge of drama. It's not like like Zucker Brothers type of slapstick comedy, but it's still humor in here. But they can also bring just a little bit of seriousness side to everything. So thank you so much, everyone. We've got one more to go. That is another film that has many familiar faces. Next week, we will be covering Toy Soldiers, where a military academy gets captive and hostage, and that will be our last one of the year. So look forward to that, folks. Now, as always, I give my crew members their license to shill. So Joe, what do you got to shill? Anything?
So on January 2nd, the next episode of The Last Drive-In, it's New Year's resolution night. Again, can't say what the movies are. But I can say the resolution is about what not to do. So you can think of movie titles that'll tell you things that you should not be doing.
Nice, nice. And Mr. Ian Simmons, I know you got stuff to show. Please, the license is yours.
Well, I'm Ian Simmons. I run Kicking the Seat, which you can find at kickseat.com. We do interviews and reviews and roundtables and stuff. This week is, we're leading into the holidays, so got reviews we got the final episode of Escape from Hammerland coming up. We have the annual traditional Christmas movie review with Pat McDonald, which is kind of an offbeat title this year. And then on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central, we're going to be doing a roundtable review of Song Sung Blue, the new Craig Brewer movie with Kate Hudson and Hugh Jackman, filmed in Mark's neck of the woods, Wisco represent.
Oh,
yes. So excited to talk about that one. And just check me out at kickseat.com, also on YouTube and here on Sunday nights, talking movies with these fine gentlemen.
Fantastic. Yes, please check out all of their stuff. And if you're at all interested, specialmarkproductions.com. For all your Movie Man needs, there's links there to everything, as well as these fine folks' materials. I was fortunate enough to be on a podcast recently, the Drew World Order. It's a movie podcast. We're talking about a film, G.I. Joe Retaliation, actually. That's not going to drop for a while, but very interesting podcast. Great host. And hopefully maybe we can even have him on the show here at one point. And we're in the middle of it's Vinylly Minds Vinyl Countdown 2025, where we're covering 12 vinyl album releases in 12 days as we count down the final days of the year. It's kind of a tradition here. I try to get them done. They're usually new releases that I haven't opened yet, so I open them with you on camera and experience them for the first time. So that's the Vinyl Countdown. And next year, if you haven't heard me talk about it already, it is our 20th anniversary of being here on the YouTube, 2026. So I've got some programs coming up, some other things I'm hoping I can get out of the hopper and actually completed. So look for all kinds of interesting stuff, and prepare yourself for me waxing nostalgia as I go, wow, I've been on here 20 years. But thank you all, as always. You've made it a great year. Hope you have a happy and safe holiday. And until next time, we'll just say good night, everyone.